So starting the downswing with bumping your hips will absolutely kill your rotation and power in the golf swing. But if you start the downswing with your hips like this, that will give you all the power you want with great rotation going through the golf ball. So let's talk about why bumping the hips to start the downswing ruins ultimately the quality of your downswing and in ball flight, because we've heard for so long that you have to bump and then turn. That's what everyone has said over the last 30 years, until really the last 5 to maybe even 10 years or so. This has changed a little bit, especially in the last 5 years, and it's for a very valid reason. Because if we start to bump the hips to start the downswing, essentially what we're doing is we are raising our left hip tilt. So our left hip is coming more upwards. So we know the golf swing, we need to be tilted towards the golf ball in the golf swing. Because that golf ball is on the ground, we need to have that inclination to the ground. We need to be tilted. So that's where every single good golf swing has tilt to it. It's a key component. We absolutely need it. But again, if you then get that left hip going up, you have now lost that tilt. So left side's raised up. What does that cause you to do? Immediately as a reaction, the upper body will start to fall back. So that's where we see with players who really consciously try to bump their upper body, kind of seesaws away is what I call it, really falling back there. Now, what that's going to do, that's going to make it really hard for you to continue to turn. If you just try to do that, just as a kind of little movement here where you bump and now try to turn, you feel a lot of pressure and strain in that lower back to be able to do so. So you trying to do that, again, let's do one here. Hopefully I don't injure myself giving it a go. You are going to really stall out your rotation. And you can also notice there, I hit that heavy when I really try to exaggerate it. It's because, again, when I bump the hips, that raises up my hip tilt, left side raises up, upper body comes back there. So now the left side of my chest is pointing either at the golf ball or even slightly behind it if I really exaggerate it. So what does that do? The left side of the chest controls where your low point of your swing arc is. So if my left chest is either level with the golf ball or behind it, that means the low point is either level or behind the ball, resulting in the club hitting the ground early. So it could result to fat shots, not what we want, just like I did there with my shot. But it will also dump the club in last minute. So that's where you're going to get a little bit too inside. Hand path's going to fling out towards the right. You're going to get hugely inconsistent when it comes to your dispersion. Blocks, push slices, hook shots. In my opinion, that's not a good way to go and play golf. So you're going to have a huge lack of rotation. You're going to have this huge tilt back. Bad strikes are going to happen from that, and you're going to get stuck in that downswing as well with a huge flip release. That's why we don't necessarily want to do it. So we can still bump the hips though. We absolutely can. We want to bump them down though. Let's look at these two guys. These two guys have been having a great year this year. So Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele. So we can see with both though, they clearly do have a lower body going towards the target first, absolutely do. So that's where some guys, you might not see it quite as much as these two. But look at their tilt of their pelvis. Still see how that lead side is staying down. Now, the thing is, when they're doing that, that's keeping the upper body moving forward as well, which is one of the things that Scotty Scheffler does. He shifts everything a ton. That's one of the reasons why he has his crazy footwork, because he shifts everything so much, he loses his footing. Again, why it's not necessarily a problem for him. But main thing to take away from that, lead side stays down as they do it. So if you still have a little bit of that separation, that little bit of sway gap there, but you're keeping that lead side down as you're going, you're all fine. You're not going to have the negatives happen from it. So that's where we want to keep that lead side down, bump down, because if we can keep that inclination of the hips and turn, that's going to keep the upper body much more on top of the middle of my lower body. It's going to incentivize me to continue to turn. Because of that, I can then keep on moving. If the left side stays down, then it can turn, keeping my hip tilt. That's going to keep you more on path, as we can see. Nice club path. And then it's going to keep you with a nice controlled club face going through the golf ball with a left exit, which we see all the top pros do, because you're not bumping them up, you're bumping them down. So let's talk about how to get that into the golf swing. So guys, 2 drills. I'm actually going to recommend all of you to do both of these, because the first one teaches you the movement and the second one you can apply it in a much simpler way. So this is where, you've already seen this on my channel before if I've talked about hip movement, a stick. So hopefully you can all see this. It's not the best color of a stick in the world for the background. So what we want to do, we want to get a stick and place it through our belt loops just like so. Tiny bit on the right, loads on the left. So ultimately what this is representing is our hip tilt. So we can get up to the top and we want that lead side to stay pointing down. That's keeping good tilt. We need to be tilted to the golf ball. And then from there, what do we want? We actually want this stick to stay down, pointing towards the ground and disappearing around me. That's the movement I want. I don't want it to bump towards the target immediately. So we want it to bump down, have that bump down. So you can still see again, if I wanted to do it like Xander or Scotty, I could bump but have the hips still pointing down and then it's functional. But even if I just want to go and put that pressure down, like a lot of the modern guys do now, it's not as common seeing a considerable bump like you see with Scotty or Xander, but you'll just see them put pressure down to that lead side. That's keeping their hip tilt and then turning round. So get the stick going down around. That keeps the tilt nicely moving and keeps you turning, and it will absolutely get you rotated nice and freely through the shot. So make sure, again, when you do it, tiny bit on the right, a lot on the left, down and around. I also like to do this, just have my left hand and push it down the round to give the feel. That's the first drill. So, second drill, what we want to do, grab a chair. This is really simple. Grab a chair, put it, let's say, about half a grip's distance in front of that lead side. So it gives you room to shift, but not too much and sliding away and having that big bump. Because if we do have a big bump, we're going to hit that chair, but we have to do the bad hip bump with the left side going up to be able to hit that. We can bump and down and not hit this. So again, we have it half a grip's distance, but make sure that chair doesn't go, let's say, in front of your leg. We want it kind of around the back of our hamstring area, so where we can still hit it with our hips if we do it poorly, but it won't affect how our club moves through in any fashion. So there we go. Let's just put that there. So just a nice half grip distance, or just an outstretched hand is absolutely great. And just don't hit it when you're going through. That's why I recommend that drill first, to give you the feeling of the sensation of what we want to do. And then having that there so we have something just to generally keep us back. So we've got good feedback straight away. So one's more visual, one's more physical in their feedback, which in my opinion targets pretty much everyone. We're either visual or physical learners. So that's why have a good go at both and do both in your swing. And there we go. So again, reframe how you think of bumping the hips. Bump them down like Xander or Scotty is absolutely fine. Again, you don't have to have that big physical bump there. Absolutely, keeping the hip tilt is what we want. If we don't do that, lifting up with the really sideways bump, we're going to lose our rotation and our power and probably ruin our back at the same time. So if you enjoyed this video, click that like button if you want more golf instruction. Just like this, hit a subscribe button, hit that bell button too, to be notified every time I put out a video.